How much does love cost? And how much are you willing to pay? Well, have you ever heard of something called pig butchering? If this is your first time, it's where a scammer will build trust in a relationship with someone, a romantic one, and basically fatten them up over months and maybe even sometimes years, portraying a relationship that just doesn't exist. And then when the trust is the strongest, they take all of their money. We're going to follow a story of someone who fell victim to $500,000 over a romantic scam. Let's take a listen.
A brutal scam known as pig butchering has stolen the life savings of yet another Bay Area resident. This time, a San Francisco retiree. He thought he was starting a new life with a new love.
Yeah, instead, he lost more than $500,000. 7 on your side, Stephanie Sierra is here with his story. Steph.
Yes, Alma and Dan, this case was especially heart-wrenching because his friends and loved ones knew he was being scammed and tried for months to warn him. They alerted every law enforcement agency they could to find, but nothing would stop him.
So I had this all ready to go. All ready to go.
Adon Look was packed and ready to fly off to a new life.
Pack clothes, pants.
He'd be joining the young woman he met on Facebook. Together, they'd build their dream home in Hawaii.
Even swimming trunks to walk on the beach. Yeah.
Her name was Anissa. He called her Annie. They'd been chatting on WhatsApp since last May.
Brand new pants. Brand new. Had them tailored.
Annie said she was from Japan, working in microchip sales. Her family had made millions.
Welcome back to the Ridgeway Report. My name is A.B. Ridgeway, and today we are talking about pig butchering, the sad reality that during this loneliness epidemic where everyone is live and let live and no one wants to build a family anymore, that I'm okay by myself, scammers are taking advantage of people who are by themselves, and they are using that loneliness against them. In this episode, I don't want you to judge the man. But what I want you to do is to look at the signs and look how strong emotions can be. As a financial advisor, people are a little skeptical of letting people manage their money, and that's okay because that's their life savings. That's what they built up for years and maybe even decades. So I definitely understand that aspect. But what happens when you fall in love so deeply that logic just goes outside the window, that your love takes over? This is what's happening to millions of Americans who just want some company in retirement. We talked about depression and anxiety and loneliness occurring after retirement. Once we leave our job, once our children grow up, we become empty nesters, and maybe we're even widowed at that point. But hopefully this is a cautionary tale for you to start building your social circle now, so in retirement, you're not left being alone.
Told her he was alone, his wife in a nursing home.
Told her that, there's no one here to cook for me. It's just me. She assured me, well, I'll be doing the cooking for you.
Wait. His wife's still alive? She's in a nursing home and he's out talking to... Listen, I tried to have sympathy for you, and okay. Let me heed my own advice. We are not here to judge his actions, whether right or wrong. We can argue in the comment section about as far as his behavior is concerned, but let's focus on the concept of pig butchery. I don't want to get off topic here, but I am trying, and I'm going to try, and the word is try, to not to see it through the lens of his wife is still alive in a nursing home. And I'm going to leave that on the table. And I'm going to continue on with the concept of scammers leveraging people who are feeling alone. And, maybe you could still feel alone even when you're with somebody. And then this becomes a whole nother conversation, but a whole nother video.
She promised to visit, even sent flight information, yet she never came.
I was head over heels, pretty much out of control, ready to do anything. And then she said she was into crypto.
Annie told him she'd made millions investing in crypto. He could too. They'd make enough to build a life in Hawaii.
And I was ready to fly. I was ready to go. I was going to start a new life with this person.
I didn't know what had happened to my dad. It was kind of this, like he flipped a switch into someone I hadn't seen before.
Adon's son, Jonathan, of Hayward, saw signs of trouble.
Found some pictures of a woman, Asian woman.
He saw the text messages about love and investing. He confronted his dad.
Well, you're a married man. What is this? I don't know, 20-something-year-old woman.
I wasn't paying no attention to it because I was too immersed in my bubble.
Then Jonathan discovered this $300,000 wire transfer to a fake company and a deposit into an unknown account.
Immediately I shifted to red flags everywhere.
Later, he discovered his dad also wired thousands of dollars directly to banks in Malaysia and Vietnam. First $5,000, then $100,000, then another $100,000.
Wow.
He told me he was investing and that not to worry.
Make sure to play that piano. I think this is where a lot of people fall victim to, where they do have a behavior, something that they're pursuing, but they're so ashamed of it that they actually start to deflect. So even though he asked the right question, he says, "Hey, Dad, what's going on here? What's all this money going out?" He says, "Hey, I'm just investing," which is true, part of the truth, but what is he invested in? And is it even a legitimate investment is a whole nother conversation. And that's the idea about being truthful. Yeah, you could tell the half truth, but are you providing all the information necessary for that person to understand the situation? And sadly, his son was right on the nail. He's like, "Listen, I don't understand. There are so many barriers to this type of behavior, but yet you overlook them all. Your wife's in a nursing home, you're married, you still have kids. We're telling you, no, this is not going to work, or we're concerned about you, but yet you start deflecting." And the father here, he is rationalizing. I was ready. I was tailoring my clothes. He was just so excited about this brand new life. He was just so ready to get away from whatever that he was running from. And that comes from not confronting your emotions and identifying. They say at the root of all conflict is unexpressed expectations. And I think this is where it happened, where he's confiding into somebody who's not even real, but it gave him some emotional relief. He's not confiding in his son, right? Because it came out of left field for him. He doesn't have a friend and anybody else that's not going to judge him for his pursuits. So once again, we talk about money and what that does to you. If you give an alcoholic $5, he drinks for a day. But if you give an alcoholic $1,000, he may drink himself to death. Sometimes when we don't have money, it protects us from those opportunities, and sometimes even our own demons. Sometimes the things that we are thinking about and pursuing, because think about it, if he only had $100 to his name, there's no way he's sending $100,000 here or $5,000 here, or even think that he can start another life. He may accept his lot in life and just say, "Hey, listen, this is not possible. You're going to have to send me money for that matter." But he had access to money. He had those resources. And that's why we have the Ridgeway Report, is to bring stories like this to you so you can be very aware that once you've had all the vacations, once you've had the family, once you have the houses and the clothes, and you have a pile of money, what really matters is how you feel, your emotions, and how you're going to live and show up in this life. And these scammers are taking advantage of some of the lack that we have because we haven't developed our emotional quotient. So we have our intelligent quotient, our IQ, but we don't have the EQ to deal with some of those strong emotions that come after retirement.
Adon reminded Jonathan he volunteers at the Institute on Aging of San Francisco, playing piano for seniors and, ironically, manning a hotline to help them combat loneliness and scams.
Wow.
So he'd recognize a con if he saw one. But Jonathan was worried. He warned his dad these crypto websites he was using appeared fake, so the $6 million in his account was not really there. Annie herself probably didn't exist.
Wow. For the love of money. So this fake statement of $6 million, once again, he's overjoyed. He thinks he's making a lot of money. He can move on. Whew, it is not real. That is scary. It's one thing for someone to tell you something and you believe it, but it's another thing for them to set up a system for you to get into that is going to, give you these fake numbers. It reminds me of those pyramid schemes. Not a pyramid scheme. It reminds me of those Ponzi schemes where they're giving the interest or the gains in these quote unquote investments only from new people who join the Ponzi scheme and paying you the difference of what money they can't make or the money that they promised you. I'll actually put a definition here so you know what a Ponzi scheme is. But, that is sad that they immerse you in this environment. We talk about learning a new language. Like, how do you learn a new language? Is through immersion. You go to France and you learn the language. You go to the shops and you hear people speak and you communicate with them, and you learn how to go to the grocery store and how to order your food and how to set up electricity and get an apartment or a hotel. They understand the ins and outs and what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and who it's going to happen to. And that is sad that they have created such a world that you can't even distinguish that world from reality.
He texted, "Dad, your friends and I need to talk about the romance scam you are a victim of." Adon replied, "No, I'm good, Jonathan. My choice, my life. Ready to run away from everyone."
It was suddenly like we all became enemies.
Wow.
Saying like, no, she's not a scammer. You're being toxic. Get away from me, basically.
Jonathan alerted the FBI, local police, the Secret Service, the banks, the Institute on
They
Aging,
can't do nothing.
yet no one could stop Adon from wiring away money.
Can't do it.
6,929,000
Until last month, Adon tried to pull out the $6 million supposedly sitting in his crypto account. And he said he'd have to pay $25,000 to unlock it.
Wow.
But he had no money left.
No
The
money.
bubble pop, right? Eventually bubbles will pop.
He realized he'd been scammed.
But I was trying to tell you this was a scam website, and you thought it was legitimate, that you're investing.
After months of bitterness, father and son reunite.
This is a real company, but all they did was steal the image and put it on here. This is a dark website. This is a dark web.
They traced the scheme, the lost money,
$5,000 wire, and then you had another one for $100,000. What did she tell you these are for?
Right.
What did you think you were doing?
Pooling the money. It's okay.
Nah. I don't know why they cut that, but it seems like his dad, once again, is being very secretive. And this is my hypothesis. I could be totally wrong. I don't want to jump to any assumptions or conclusions, but what I was thinking is that his dad was going to have the money and not share it with his family. I think that's what happened. That, you have $7 million when, let's say you have $500,000 to your name, and that greed gets to you. You start seeing it rise, and you start seeing things about cryptocurrency and investing, and you're thinking that you're just doing wonderful, right? You got 6 million, 7 million, and you're going to change your whole life. And that is enticing, right? Is because there is no contentment in his life. He had the family, he had the wife, he has the home, all those things, but there's something else that he's desiring. And that caused him to change who he was. Because once again, money is insatiable. There's always another dollar to make. There's always another $100,000 to make. There's always another $1 million to make. So no matter what you have, you can always make more, right? Think of it. You can go all the way up to Jeff Bezos' numbers and even more. Even they probably want more, right? But when you are content, you're grateful for everything that you have. But this man was not content with what he had. Just like God and our parents typically tell us, if you don't appreciate what you have, God can take that away from you. And that's exactly what happened. He didn't appreciate the $500,000. He wanted a new relationship. He didn't appreciate the family that he had, and boom, gone. Now, luckily, his son seems to have a soft heart and he came back. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know if you think the same thing. You can let me know in the comments, but I think he was going to run off with the money, spend it with the old girl, and then whatever was left, he may have put into his will and gave to his kids. But I don't think he was going to tell anybody, to be honest with you. Now, let me be critical here. Do I think the scammer told him not to tell anybody? I can believe that. I think during their deep conversations, like, listen, this is your money, that we're making this together. I don't want anybody to know, because if they know, then they may try to take your money or whatever it may be, or it's going to be gone, or maybe there's some type of fear. Typically, when we see these type of situations, we see a threat. There's a scammer threat, and it doesn't have to be an aggressive threat like we're going to take you out or something's going to happen to your family. It can be a passive aggressive threat like, hey, if your family finds out, then, I'm uncomfortable and I don't think I want to be with you in that type of situation. Or, if they get in on this investment, then it's going to collapse, or they're not going to want to do business with us anymore, or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of things, almost like when he said, can I get the money out? He says, hey, you can't get it because they need $25,000 to unlock it. You never know what type of fear they actually drove into him. And then once he understood the fear wasn't there anymore, as far as him having the money, then he started to trust a little bit more. It's almost like trauma bonding. You go through something so scary as if investing that much money and you survive, you think there's no more risk associated with it, right? You think that you kind of beat the market. And I think that's the ideology that he had. And that's why it's so strong inside of him. Now, once again, this is my hypothesis. This is just me formulating some of these ideas of how this pig butchering can actually occur, because I've dealt with so many clients, and I understand when someone has a conviction, an emotional conviction, if they don't come to a conclusion rationally, it's hard to convince them rationally that it's not the truth.
You want me to say a prayer?
I'll say a prayer. Thank you, Lord, that we're all together able to enjoy this.
Then they share a meal.
I feel no animosity toward my son or any ill feeling.
He didn't do nothing.
Gratefulness. Thank you, Jonathan.
Wait, sorry to stop. Your son didn't do anything. What you mean? I don't feel sorry. I don't like comments like that. Like, what did his son do? His son tried to help him, and he said, I don't have any animosity toward his son. But I think that comment comes from, he really wanted it to work out. He really did. And he was upset that the bubble broke. And I think he's saying that, I'm not mad at you for popping that bubble, that illusion, because you're getting out of this fantasy land, right? And some people like to live in their fantasy land. We see that with narcissists. We see that people who are overconfident, people who are arrogant, self-centered, they don't like to come out of that bubble, that reality that they built around themselves in order to make sure that they don't feel the same hurt they may have felt in the past, a pain or something like that. So, most of these scammers, they're looking for pain points. They're looking for things that bother you so they can be the solution. They say that scammers look to solve problems. Many of us want to give you a solution to a problem we don't even know exists, if at all. But scammers look for a problem and they become that problem. They customize what they say and what they do to match it. And that's why they're so successful. Because they say people don't typically run to pleasure. They run away from pain. So if they can run away from the pain and run to a scammer who gives them peace, that's what they're going to do. So you got to be very, very careful there.
Yeah. Big hug. Thank you. Sorry.
He says sorry.
It's awful. After he realized he'd been scammed, Adon contacted us at 7 on Your Side, and he wanted to share his story to warn others. The FBI reports victims of these cryptocurrency scams have lost more than $5.8 billion in recent years. And Dan and Amma, we too often hear stories like this.
Oh.
Yeah, and also too, you can report elderly abuse. Like if you think this is happening to someone that you love, you can report elderly abuse. But when they call and that person says they're not being taken advantage of or everything is okay, there's really nothing else that they can do. There may be some alternatives. I'm not an expert, but every time that I've either called elderly abuse for maybe a scam that may have occurred, or I feel like there's some fraud or some financial abuse that's occurring in an elderly client, when they reach out to the client, if they cannot articulate that crime or say there's something suspicious or that they don't feel safe, then they really can't do it. They'll do a little bit of research, but at the end of the day, if they say they like this person or that person is a real boyfriend or girlfriend or that they've been knowing each other for 6 months and it's okay and they know exactly what they're doing, they're coherent and they don't have anything like a dementia or Alzheimer's or anything else like that, it's going to be really hard to stop them from continuing on. But that does not mean that you should not reach out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the link to elderly abuse, the hotline, the phone number that you can reach out to if you feel that someone is being taken advantage of, because we don't want this to go under the radar. But also these romantic scams are not just happening to the elderly. It's happening to people in their 20s and their 30s. We see people as young as teens, 16 and 17 being taken advantage of for these romantic scams. If you like videos like this, make sure that you like and subscribe. And if you want to help me out, you can actually check out one of these videos that I have floating around here. I think all of them are good. So either one will do.